So Ken the terrorist? I'm just kidding. He's clearly being framed. But let's talk about it as some more information came out. Before we get into that though, as always, this is Show You Ken, the channel we talk about Capcom stuff. So please subscribe and like, and let's get on to the video. So Capcom released a little more information about Ken. They did an interview with the Game Informer where they did a whole little page about Street Fighter 6, did an interview with the directors and their vision for the game, what they want to do going forward, but also in particular their vision for Ken, right? They explained their thought process of what they went into with Ken this time around and how they wanted to make him different from the previous iterations of the character. First of all, right off the bat, before we get into that though, I also want to talk about the classic costumes that they went ahead and showed. They didn't show a whole lot, as they were really quick clips and pics, but we got to see the characters in their classic uniforms, at least most of them. We already were aware, of course, of, Ryu and Chun-Li, but this time we also got to see Ken in his classic uniform, which I thought was really awesome. Costume looks really clean, really crisp, and it matches his face, and I really can't wait. And I'm happy that they're putting these costumes in, and I think even Chun-Li, like, her face to me looked a little different with the costume on, so that's definitely something that's going to be really cool. So aside from the costume, of course, as I said, they kind of delved more into the character and the story, and we got to see a little bit more about Ken and the reasons and what's going on. We still don't know everything, but we know more of the stuff, right? So Ken, of course, we all know is being framed. He's being framed for a crime that he obviously did not commit, but they're accusing Ken of being a terrorist, right? There was some terrorist bombing that happened, and they're pretty much labeling Ken or the Masters Foundation as the ones behind it. And seeing how he is the head of the Masters Foundation, it only makes sense why they would say it's him that is doing it. So Ken, he gets arrested, as they show these cool pictures, but he manages to escape, right? He manages to walk free, but even though he escapes, he's now on the run, which is why he's in hiding, which is why he's wearing these bummy type clothes, because he does not want to be seen or caught. His family is away somewhere, so it's rumored, or presumably so, that he told them to probably flee to some discreet location where they'll be safe and no one will be able to contact them while he's on the run, pretty much living like Ryu now, just minus looking over your shoulder for cops. So it's a major change for Ken. This is something that the character hasn't really had forever, and I think it's a welcome change. It's funny, before all this stuff happened with Ken, I did a video that I released about my problems with Ken, or what I felt was wrong with him, and I felt the character was stagnant. I felt he was stuck. I felt that he hadn't really changed or grown since Hell Alpha, right? He's kind of been the same mode the whole way through, and I think it's because Ken's life has been fulfilled, has been complete, and so because of that, it got a little stale. Ever since he got married, and had a kid, he had the perfect life. Rich, good looking, the foundation's working out great. Again, he's got a wife, he's got a kid, he's a good fighter. Like, there are no pitfalls for him, right? Everything works out just perfectly. And because of that, it kind of led to the character being boring. And it almost felt like there was no point for him to be in any of these games or any of these Street Fighter tournaments. I mean, Ken himself admitted he only enters a tournament unless Ryu's in it. If Ryu's not in it, he's not going to bother fighting, right? Or unless if it's the US martial arts tournament. So, I don't know, that annoyed me, right? Because this is a character who has plenty of fire, plenty of drive, who also wants to be the best. And suddenly it's almost like, well, because I can just fight with Ryu, that's all I care about. I don't care about fighting anybody else. Unless Capcom went ahead and confirmed that Ryu was indeed the strongest human on the planet, I don't see why that's still just your measuring stick, right? You should still want to improve and fight other people. So, that was my thought, and that was essentially the basis of that video. So it was kind of cool to see Capcom just pretty much reflect everything I just said in the video, right? It goes to show that they were thinking the exact same thing. They had the exact same thoughts that I had, and I think really that most people would have, right? I think if you love Ken as a character, you also felt that same desire for change, right? You felt that his flame wasn't as bright as before, and he just really became a ride along, a tag along character, right? He became Ryu's like unofficial or official sidekick. So I just think this was absolutely necessary for the character, and I'm happy they're doing it. So again, they showed some really cool pictures that remind me kind of like the Tekken 4 story mode, like Tekken 4, which I love, by the way. I know I'm in the minority, but I absolutely love Tekken 4. But when you pick the story mode and you pick a character, you get like a prologue, right? You get a brief bio of the character, what they're going through, and the reasons they're fighting in the tournament. You hear the music, and you see the text, and a nice, cool, like sketched out picture in the background. And the picture they showed of Ken, it reminded me very much of that. It had a very Tekken-ish feel. So that was cool. And but yeah, they're definitely going all in with Ken. So much so they're actually doing a miniseries. Capcom is going to be partnering up with Udon to do a kind of prologue to Street Fighter 6 or Ken miniseries, where they're going to detail and actually show us what happened to Ken and why he's on the run. So I'm looking forward to that. Not because it's Udon doing it, but because it's just, I love Street Fighter, and anything that gives me more into the lore, into the story, and explains things, I'm all for. Because I'll just be honest, and this might be controversial, but I'll just come out and say it. I'm actually not a big fan of the Udon stuff, the Udon Street Fighter stuff. I don't know, something about it just feels too cookie cutter, too dry, too safe, right? When I read comics, manga, or just when I read stuff about characters outside of the games they're from, I kind of want a little more. And what I mean by that is, I could read a character's bio in a booklet, right? Well, I'm dating myself because now we don't have booklets, but when we had booklets, I could read a character's bio and they'll kind of tell me why the character's fighting, what they're doing, right? What they're about. If you create a series that's just strictly, completely adhering to what's in the booklet, like essentially there's no deviations at all, you're not giving me anything new or extra or something I would think about, what's the point of reading to me, right? It's boring. I want to see your take, your twist on it. Now, I'm not saying I want to see a character like Ryu do something completely outrageous, like he's into dancing or whatever, but I do want to see a little take on the character, right? It's why I prefer the mangas on these characters, right? Like the Alpha manga that came out, that was brought here by Udon, or even the old Street Fighter 2 manga, because the characters had a little more character. You could tell the creators, they put the little influence and said, you know what, I think Ryu would act like this, I think Chun-Li might do this, and let me put that in there. And I feel like Udon doesn't do that enough. It's just very much, okay, Chun-Li wants to avenge her father's death, she's serious all the time, we're gonna do that. I'm not gonna do anything extra, nothing, no little quirks, anything that's like, oh, that's cool, I didn't know that about the character, that's nice. So that's my beef with Udon. So I'm hoping that this story is written closely with Capcom. That way it kind of has pretty much Capcom's influence, essentially like Capcom's writing the story but Udon's just drawing it. That's what I'm hoping. But either way, it's cool that we're getting this, and maybe they're growing. Maybe it'll be great. Maybe they'll change, right? They've done some good stories. Like I know the Yakima origin story that I bought from them I thought was fantastic. So maybe they'll surprise me. But anyways, yeah, essentially Capcom just dug in deep, and we're speaking about that with Ken, and I'm happy, and I'm all for it. And I actually want them to do this with more characters. I know they can't do it with all of them or everybody, but definitely do it with more characters, where we get these kind of like mini stories and mini shorts that kind of explains what a character is going through and what they're doing, and maybe their reason for fighting, if we're not going to get that all in the game, right? Which makes me think maybe we won't, or maybe the game will be like a Cliff Notes version. But I definitely want more of this stuff. I'm again a big fan of the lore, big fan of the franchise, and anytime we can get more of information on characters, more just into their daily lives, I'm really all for it. So I'm happy Capcom is doing this, which he needs this change, and I'm interested, man. I'm so eager. I can't wait to find out what happened to this guy, what exactly happened, what he's thinking. This is the first time I've been excited for Ken since like Alpha. Like it's really cool that people are actually into Ken again, right? Not as a character playing as him, but just the character, right, himself, who he is. So it lets me know that they're definitely doing the right thing, and they need to continue this, do more interesting stuff. So those are my thoughts on the little bit of information they revealed in the Game Informer. I can't wait to play, and it just sucks because, you know, the news about the release date, you know, everyone like myself thought this game would be coming out in February, but all signs are pointing that it will not be coming out in February, which is okay. You know, take your time, of course, to make the game as great as possible. You don't want another Street Fighter V scenario where the game is released unfinished and unpolished, but still, it still sucks that we gotta wait much longer. And who knows, you know, a lot of people are thinking April. I'm gonna put my bet on that as well, that maybe in April we'll see Street Fighter 6 come out. Hopefully, because if it gets later than that, it's gonna be pretty tough, because now we're getting into the territory of other fighting games getting ready to come out, right? The new Tekken is gonna be coming out soon. Obviously, you know, NetherRealm is gonna do a game, whether it be Mortal Kombat or Injustice. So this is kind of a nice time for Capcom to like do it, because there are no other fighting games really out on the market. I mean, KOF is out, but it's kind of been out for a little bit and did its thing. Same thing with Strive. So right now it's kind of a blank slate. So it'd be perfect for Capcom to release it, but again, if they don't, I understand. You know, you want to make sure it's perfect, and I'd rather the game be in perfect condition than come out unfinished and rushed. So, but yeah, that was my thoughts on that article and on Ken. The guy's back. I'm so happy. This is fantastic. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. If you heard or saw the article that Capcom did with Game Informer, if you are happy about the changes they're making to Ken, or maybe you're not happy about it. Maybe you felt Ken's life was fine the way it was. Maybe you liked that he was just, you know, a family man and just liked to fight with Ryu. I don't know. You know, everyone's different and it's all cool. So let me know down below. And of that, I want y'all to take care and have a wonderful day.